Welcome to the simple, easy, effective way to make tons of money working from home as a freight broker, freight agent. If you haven't already introduced yourself, please, so that I know that you can hear me, number one, say hi. Yes, I can hear you. The sound is working. And number two, let us know where you're from, what city and state you're based in. Would greatly appreciate it. Okay, I got a couple of thumbs up. That's good. That's good. So if you know how to do the thumbs up sign, that's great. And I'll apologize now. This is my first YouTube live training session. Can't believe it. You know, I'm an old guy, old school. So some of the technology is a little bit new for me. So if I fumble a little bit, I'll apologize now, but I'm going to do the best I can. So, all right, great. Welcome, Linda, Joe, Tom. All right, wonderful. So, again, today we're going to be talking about a simple, easy, effective way to make a ton of money as a freight broker, freight agent working from home. We've got 60 minutes reserved for this session. For the first 30 minutes, we're going to talk about success principles, the things to do, not to do, how to make the job simple, how to do things the easy way versus the hard way. What works, what's effective versus not so effective. And some of the basic keys to being successful working from home, which 99% of freight brokers and freight agents do. And then after that session, where we're going to talk about some of these success principles and specific things to do, we'll have an open Q&A session for the next 30 minutes or so, or until we run out of questions for me to answer, whatever comes first. Along the way, if a question pops in your head, just kind of type it in the chat. Because at the end of the training session, then I'm kind of go down the chat box and look. So if you've asked a question previously, I'm probably just going to answer them in the order they were asked. Of course, when we're done, then ask questions as you will. And the questions can be related to, some of you may be considering getting into the business, haven't made that decision yet. Some of you are maybe students, current students with Freight Brokers Academy, or former students. Welcome. And some of you may be out in the field and have been working as a freight broker, freight agent for a while, and you may have some specific questions on how to deal with a certain type of prospect, how to negotiate the best rates, how to get your foot in the door on a certain type of business, whatever the case is, how to be more effective. All of those questions are fair. Now, before we get into the specifics of how to make the job simple, easy, and effective, I want to talk about something else. First off, there's nothing I can teach you that will make this simple and easy for you if one of two things exist. Number one, if you don't like talking to people, or if you don't like talking on the phone, this is going to be tough business for you, because 80 to 90% of the time, especially your first few months, you're going to be calling and talking to either customers or prospective customers. That's what freight brokers and freight agents do. So if you're the kind of person that doesn't like talking to people, this is going to be a tough business. Now, don't confuse that with the need to be a salesperson, the need to be extremely outgoing, the need to be the life of the party. That's not necessary, but you generally have to like talking to people. Second thing is, nothing that we're going to go over today is going to help you if you are lazy and undisciplined. This job does require a certain degree of self-discipline. Because you work from home, there's nobody looking over your shoulder all day long. There's nobody telling you when to get your butt out of bed every day, when to start work, when to end work, how many calls to make. So it does require a certain degree of self-discipline. Without self-discipline, none of the things we're going to talk about today are going to matter. With a certain degree of self-discipline and actually your ability to apply what we're going to talk about, then all these things should work for you and should help make this a simple, easy, and effective way to make lots of money working from home as a freight broker or freight agent. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'd like to talk a little bit about first the basics of being successful at any business working from home. And many of you, especially with COVID over the last couple of years, probably maybe experienced this for the first time. But especially when you are kind of managing yourself from home, I think it's critical that you treat this business like a business. You're in charge, you're boss. And I think you have to develop some structure for yourself. Certain basic key things you got to do. Or again, none of these other things are going to work. Number one, you got to set up an office. You have to set up a specific workspace, a little desk. It doesn't have to be much, a fold-out table with your files, your phone, your laptop, computer, whatever. There has to be a place you go to work. That's your office. And preferably, it needs to be in a room where you could close the door. I know many of you have families, maybe kids, dogs, pets, whatever. Your wife, your husband, whoever's in the house, you need to create a little bit of quiet space where you can do your work uninterrupted as much as possible. So make a space, try and secure yourself off from distractions. Don't have the TV going, don't have the radio going. You need to be focused on what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Set a schedule for yourself and stick to it. Decide you're going to start work at your business. And whether you're a freight agent or broker, it's your business. You're in business for yourself, even if you're working underneath a licensed freight broker. When do you start work every day? And stick to it. Develop a schedule. Develop some habits. When you're going to start to work, when you're going to finish, your break schedule. And that doesn't mean that you have to work 8-10 hours straight. In fact, some of the most effective people don't work 3 or 4 hours without stopping. I like creating little chunks of time where I'm not going to take any phone calls. I'm not going to read any emails. If I'm going to talk to people on the phone, I'm going to spend a 45 or 50-minute chunk. That's it. One call after the other. And I don't worry about anything else. And then I'll take a 10 or 15-minute break, and then maybe I'll check my emails or just get up and walk around or, make myself a cup of coffee, whatever the case is. So you need to develop some structure. You need to develop a system, some good habits, and you need to be able to focus on what you're doing. And that applies to any work at home kind of job. Now, the specifics of freight brokerage and freight and being a freight agent working from home. Let's talk about the differences between simple and complicated. Now, first, simple isn't always easy. Simple is, we talk about the law of averages. Making the job simple and easy for yourself and less stressful is one of the keys. If you've been through our program, if you've attended my training sessions in the past, you'll know I focus on one of the number one keys to success in freight brokerage is get the law of averages working on your side. What's the law of averages? Very simply, the more times you do something, the more successful you're going to be at it. So in this business, especially getting started, the first 30, 60, 90 days are critical that you contact as many people as you possibly can. Who you contact? Very simply, potential customers. Who are your customers? Your customers are shippers and carriers. Shippers are typically wholesalers, manufacturers, distributors, growers. 95% fit into one of those categories. People that ship stuff, certain types of products from point A to point B. Carriers are trucking companies or individual owner operators, and that are going to haul that stuff from point A to point B. Key to success, to make the job simple and easy, is to talk to as many of those people, shippers and carriers, as you possibly can each and every day. And especially that first 30, 60, 90 days, that's critical. The more people you talk to and start developing a relationship with and identifying to the extent that they need your services as a freight broker or freight agent in the future, the easier the job will get moving forward, the more effective you will be moving forward. So work harder the first few months, and the job gets easier as you move along. The reverse, you want to make the job more complicated, you want to make it harder. Be lazy the first few months. Don't talk to a lot of people. All of a sudden, the stress starts hitting you because you're not having results. You're not making money. Rarely are you going to make a first contact with somebody and they're going to say, "Oh, I'm glad you called. Here, I got a load for you." That does happen on occasion, but it's rare. This is a long-term relationship building kind of business. It usually takes a few calls, few interactions before you start generating business from a shipper. It's a little easier to kick in with a trucking company or an owner operator who's looking for a load, posted that they've got an available truck in a certain area looking for a load. So sometimes on the first call there, "Hey, I saw you were posted on the load board. Are you still empty looking for a load?" And they'll say, "Yes, I am." And if you have one, then sometimes that first contact, you're doing business. But when you're developing your shipper base, typically it's going to take a few contacts and a few interactions before you first start generating business. So the more of those contacts you make your first 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, and on into 90, the easier it will be because you have a larger database to work from. You get the law of averages on your side. And when you have hundreds or sometimes thousands of people to choose from in businesses, you don't need everyone to say, "Yeah, I need a load. Yeah, I need a truck." You just are looking for that small percentage that may need your services today. So the more trucking companies and the more shipping companies that you've contacted and identify that they at least on occasion use the services of a freight broker, freight agent, or an outside trucking company, the easier the job is going to get. Now, how do you do it? Very simply, in a program like ours, we teach you. So again, what's the simple, easy way to do it? Simple, easy way is learn from somebody that already has done it and been successful. That's what Freight Brokers Academy is all about. Or find anybody who's been in the business several years and making a lot of money and learn from them if you can. The hard way is for you to get into the business as a freight broker, freight agent, and try and learn it all yourself. Trust me, that's kind of what I did. I had a background in the trucking business. I was a part owner of a trucking company. So I was familiar with how the industry worked. And it was still difficult. And I still made lots of mistakes. And it still cost me a lot of money and a lot of time it took to learn how to be successful. So make it simple and easy. Get with somebody, get with us, and follow a program from somebody else. You don't make all the same mistakes yourself. We provide you those kind of things. So simple, easy, effective. It's as simple, easy, and effective as having a little one-page outline script on who to call, who to find, what to say, how to say it. For example, when you're contacting new shippers, you contact a company, ABC nut and bolt manufacturer, and you ask who's the primary person who coordinates freight shipments for your company. So if you get the receptionist, that's the question you ask because that's who you need to talk to. So we let you know, and the information, name, title, phone number, email address, contact. So if they're not available, you have the information to follow back up. When you actually get to the person who coordinates freight shipments for a particular company, we spell it out for you, exactly what you say. You don't have to memorize this. You can have this in front of you like I do right now and just read. "Hi, Joe. My name is Tony, and I'm with XYZ Logistics. How are you doing today?" And they tell you, great, or it's a tough day today. All right, well, look, are you the person who manages or coordinates all the shipping consignments of your company? You want to clarify, you want to make sure they are, or you don't want to waste time with them. If they say yes, well, then I have just one quick question for you right now. Do you exclusively use your own trucks for freight shipping, or do you at least occasionally use outside carriers for product shipments? And you wait for an answer. I just read right off the thing. If they say yes, that they at least occasionally use outside carriers to ship their product, well, then Joe, then What would I need to do to get our company set up as an approved vendor for your company? Do you handle that process, or is there someone else I need to get a vendor package from? That's it. You're not going to waste time kibitzing. You don't have to be a small talker. These people typically don't have time for small talking. That's as simple as it is. That's your first call, your first contact. Not complicated. Don't make it any more complicated. Number one, identify who handles that stuff. Who handles coordinating this? Number two, do they at least occasionally use outside trucking companies to ship their stuff? At least occasionally. If they don't, well, thank you for your time. Have a great day. You're done. If they say, nope, we use exclusive our own trucks and we're in good shape. Okay, well, thanks for your time. Have yourself a great day. Boom, you're on to the next one. Don't waste time. You're looking for the people to say, yes, we at least occasionally use outside trucking companies for shipments. Those are your prospects. And then once you identify one, you're just finding out, okay, are you the person that handles setting up new vendors? Or is there somebody else I need to talk to get a new vendor package from? You make it simple and easy for them need to negotiate. You're not going to ask them a ton of questions on that first call. See, we've got a step-by-step process. Make it simple and easy for you and simple and easy for the people you're going to be dealing with. Again, this is a long-term relationship building kind of business. There is a step-by-step process that works best, that's most effective. We know what works best, what's most effective, and what's not. So again, the theme of the training today, simple versus complicated, easy versus hard, effective versus not effective. Do what we teach. And those of you that are in our training now or have been through it, go back into your materials. Everything I'm covering today is pretty much scattered throughout the training program. I'm going to hit the highlights, some of those things that you may have whisked over and you may want to go back and focus on, because we give you what to say, who to say it to, how to say it, when to say it, what to do if they say yes, what to do if they say no. Step by step, real simple. You don't even have to think about it. Just do it. A few other things, helpful hints. Getting started. Again, if you're thinking about getting the business, or again, you're in our training program right now and you haven't done this yet, you need a separate phone line. Don't use your personal cell phone. Now, it's not complicated. You don't even have to install a new phone line at your house. No, most people don't do that anymore. You don't even have to get a second cell phone. I have more than one cell phone myself. I have several different businesses, so I have multiple phone numbers. But it's as simple as they have these little apps for $10 a month where you can add a second phone number to your existing cell phone. Why do you need to have a second phone line? Because it's dedicated for your business. Your personal cell phone, you may have a message, hey, this is, Tony, and, leave a message at the beep, boom. Or some people have some pretty unusual voicemail message. You don't want people hearing that if they're business. Also, you want to know when a business call is coming through. With these second line apps that you can put on your phone, you can have a separate ringtone. So if one of your prospects is calling you back, and you'll answer the phone differently. Hi, I'm here with XYZ Logistics. Can I help you? Or how can I help you today? Versus, hey, what's going on? Or just hello. When you do however you answer your normal personal phone, you're going to answer it differently. You can have a separate voicemail message, a professional voicemail message, so people know that they got to a business. The business is you. Hi, this is Tony with XYZ Logistics. Sorry I'm not available to take your call at the moment, but if you please leave your name, phone number, and a message at sound tone, I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Nice professional voice message versus, whatever you do on your personal. So little things become very important. You got to treat your business like a business. Get a separate phone line. Have a professional voicemail message on that phone line, so you know when a business call is coming through. Other things. Today, you got to have something other than, your email address. When you're first starting out, whether you're freight broker, freight agent, you need an email address too. Not cooldog2@gmail.com or Ricky Ticky Tavy at Yahoo. I mean, there's some pretty unusual email addresses out there. You want an email address that looks like it has something to do with business. At the very least, your own name at Gmail or Yahoo. Gmail's the most commonly used. So say, Joe Jones at gmail.com. But even better is, and to get your own URL, first you start with your URL. You can go through any service, GoDaddy or whoever, and you can reserve a .com or .net. So you could reserve something like joneslogistics.com or .net if your last name is Jones, or something like qualitytransport.com or .net or whatever. And then you can just put, and once you have a .com, you can get an email service added onto that for like, $5-10 a month. You can reserve that .com or .net for a year for about $20, maybe less. So it's not expensive, but that way, whenever you're sending an email, it's coming from whatever your URL is. It might be coming from, if you're Ben Jones, it's coming from joneslogistics.com, from Ben at joneslogistic.com, or it's coming from Mary Smith at Mary at Quality Flatbed Transport. Maybe that's what you focus on. And when you're sending emails, you should have a professional email signature, just like if you're sending out a business correspondence. If you haven't ever had to do business correspondence, we lay it out for you. For example, Mary Smith, Queen of Flatbed Transport, phone number, your business number. If you got an e-fax service or whatever, email Mary at qualityflatbedtransport.com. So you got a professional tagline at the end of your emails that looks like you are a professional in the freight brokerage business. Again, we lay this all out for you. We have a whole separate section in the training. If you're in the training or you've been through it and you didn't pay attention to this, go back, check it out again. This is good stuff. Other things, again, keeping simple. One-page form for getting the information. How do I know what to get? Well, we lay that out for you. Use this carrier profile. You have to have a system, so you have to remember, scribble, whatever. I forgot to get something important. If you have this sheet in front of you when you're talking to somebody, the blanks just to fill in or circle or check off. So again, simple, easy, systematic things that, we kind of put together. How do you keep track of this? Well, we give you an Excel spreadsheet that you can print out, you can sort, so that as you're talking to all these people and getting this information, you or somebody, that you're working with can type this information into a simple Excel spreadsheet, doesn't cost you anything, and boom, you have that information so you can sort it, get to it. You don't have to buy any fancy logistics software. Now, if you're a freight broker and you got people working underneath you, you got to have that kind of software to interface with load boards and to keep track of what everybody's doing. But if you're starting out just by yourself at first, you don't have to invest in that. Keep it simple, easy. Use Excel. It's free. I mean, if you already have the software, most people do have Word and Excel, those kind of things. You got your cell phone. Spend $10 a month for a second line on your existing cell phone. Most everybody has something like a laptop or a desktop, something that you can send and receive emails with and that you can access stuff on the internet with. Phone, internet access, basic programs that you could usually get for free or really inexpensively. And then we provide you with all the rest. So again, phone number, separate phone number used for business, email address, it's a professional email address, correspondence, make sure you have your information at the bottom of everything you send, even if you're working for another broker. Underneath them, if I'm an agent starting out myself, I want my own email address. I want my own phone number. So when I'm corresponding with prospects, they're developing a relationship with me, not the brokerage company I may be working under at this moment. This is a long-term relationship building kind of business. I want them to be building that relationship with me, not somebody I may be working under at the time. And that way, if I move, and freight agents will occasionally move from brokerage to brokerage from time to time, they've got your name. They've got your email address. They've got your phone number. If they ever decide to go back and say, hey, who was I talking to? What was going on? I need some trucks. Where's Joe's? Where's Mary's information? And there we go. So, again, simple, easy. Use the scripts that we provide, and so you don't have to think of, don't have to guess what's going on. Hey, YouTube Live, and I don't know if you guys can hear that, but I've got sirens going on in the background, so hopefully this will come through really quickly. I don't know if there's some kind of little Christmas parade going on or what's happening. So my apologies if you can hear that. If my noise canceling mic has phased that out, that's all the much better. So again, simple, easy, effective. Every day, make as many calls as you can. Now, first 30, 60, 90 days, very important. If you've already been past that and things haven't happened as well as you would have hoped or expected, go back, redo what you should have done. Here's some other recommendations I'm going to make if you're brand new. And one of the nice things about this business is most of the time you're only working 8 to 5 because the people you're dealing with, these freight managers, these logistic managers, these shipping managers at companies, are only in their office, during normal business hours, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, 7:30 to 4:30. Some of them start as early as 7 a.m. So typically no nights, no weekends, no holidays. That doesn't mean that you should be working short hours, especially when you're first starting out. If I was starting out from scratch again, here's what I do. Knowing what I know now, I'd be starting my workday about 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. at whatever time zone I'm in. And because a lot of the freight managers, they start early. If they have shipments that need to go out and they don't have trucks lined up for them, they know they got a bigger supply of trucks looking for loads early in the day. And the later you get in the day, the fewer available trucks there are. Vice versa, if you're a truck at the beginning of the day and you don't have a load, there are more shippers looking for trucks early in the day because they got to get shipments moving. So you're probably making the rounds. You're posting your trucks as early as you can to let people know you're available. So I'm thinking starting early is a whole lot better than start late. You're going to be more effective. You're going to get more done. Now that doesn't, I would probably work more than 8 hours first month or 2 or 3. Because there are different time zones here in the U.S. If you're outside the U.S., you got more times to work with, whatever. But again, Eastern, Central, Pacific. So if I'm on the East Coast, which I am, I'm starting at 7:30, no later than 8. I'm working the East Coast. And then I know when it's getting 4 or 5 o'clock here, it's 3 hours earlier on the Pacific Coast. So I might shift. And I might be working till 6 or 7 or maybe even 8 p.m. I know that's kind of a long day, but that first 30, 60, 90 days, I'm trying to build my initial customer base. I'm trying to build up my database of available trucks and available shippers as large as possible so my job becomes easier. So that first 30, 60, 90 days, I maybe work a few extra hours, more so than I know I'm going to work in the long run. So I can pick up maybe that business if I'm on the East Coast, it's still out there on the West Coast and needs my help. Vice versa, if I'm on the Pacific Coast and I want to get business on the East Coast, make it a little challenging, especially if you're not an early riser. But I might start my day at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. because at 5 a.m. in California, it's 8 a.m. in New York, in North Carolina, in Florida, in Georgia, on the East Coast. Now, that may be a little more challenging, but if I want to be effective, then maybe my work schedule is 4:30 a.m., 5 a.m. until 3 p.m., 3:30 p.m., 4 p.m. if I'm on Pacific Coast. Because then I'm hitting the East Coast before anybody in California even starts work. So I'm getting if I'm competing with freight brokers and agents that are based in California or Washington or Oregon, and they're not starting until 8 a.m. Pacific, they've already missed out at a big chunk of the business on the East Coast by then. So these are some of the things you should maybe think about, especially when you're starting out, or if you've been in the business a while and you're not as effective as you might like to be, want your business to boost up, start a little earlier, work a little later for a short period of time. And I mean, really kick butt and make as many contacts as you can and build up the numbers. The more trucks you have to work with, the more shippers you have to work with, the easier the job gets. Because the more likely you are when you make a call, you send out an email, that you'll get a response, a positive response. Yes, I am looking for a load for my truck. Thanks for calling, or thanks for the email. I do still have some empty trucks. Or if you're dealing with shippers, wow, I'm glad you called. I just had a truck break down 25 miles away from our facility, and it won't be back up in time for when we need this shipment out. You got anything here around the St. Louis area, or around Atlanta, or around LA, or whatever? Yeah, give me 2 minutes. Let me confirm a couple things. I'll get right back to you. Give me a few basics. Boom. Now, that's tougher to find that if you have a small database to work with. If you only have a few dozen shippers or a few hundred trucks. But when you've got hundreds of shippers and thousands of trucks, it's a whole lot easier when you send out an email or you make a series of phone calls to get a positive response. It only takes about 20, 30 seconds when you make a call to know whether or not someone needs your help today. Same thing, whether it's a shipper or a carrier. So you can make a lot of calls if you're just looking to see if they need any trucks for today or if they have any trucks that need loads today. So the more your database is, and it's not difficult. Again, the easy way, it becomes stressful and hard if you don't build up that first few months a whole bunch of possible trucks at your disposal or shippers that at least occasionally use outside trucking companies for their shipments. Now, I usually do these on Zoom where we've got stuff on the screen that you can watch too, and it's all written out. So it talked really quickly. I apologize. But again, those are the basics. It really isn't complicated to make this job simple, easy, and effective and make a ton of money. It really is the law of averages. Now, again, if you're in the program now, most of this stuff I'm talking about, it's in there. If you're a graduate of Freight Brokers Academy, go back, rewatch some of the videos, re-listen to some of the audio recordings, reread some of the training material. And haven't joined the team here at Freight Brokers Academy yet, but you're thinking about getting into the business, I encourage you to check us out further, freightbrokersacademy.com. And it's got all that stuff laid out. You can send an email to me. You can call me. I think there's information right on the website on that, but it's success@freightbrokersacademy.com. If anybody after today thinks of a question after we're done, feel free to email me, or 863-508-3084 phone number to chit chat with you if that's the case. But I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions and answers now. So if you have anything specific that you have a question about, just go ahead and type it up in the chat box. I'm going to check right now just to see if there's anything in the chat box. Thanks for valuable information. Great. As a trucker, we started here we go. Linda, as a trucker, we started our days many times before 6 a.m. Good point. Thank you for that feedback. Had a review this week, and second interview for Freight Broker Monday is a big. Okay, and Linda, you're already interviewing with freight brokers. That's great. Best of luck. If you need any help, let me know. So again, anything specific, any particular questions at all about anything, type them in the chat box. In the meantime, let me talk about the industry in general, the opportunities you got right now, and why this is probably the best time. And I've said this in the past. I just think the freight brokerage business is great. And I think it's been great. But now, more than ever, there are so many shipping companies that even if before they had their own fleets and they handled most all of their own shipping needs, they're losing truck drivers. because truck drivers are in so demand, and they have been for well over a year, almost 2 years now, that, other companies are stealing them away, making offers. I mean, they're paying thousands of dollars in bonuses for an experienced truck driver. So even a company that in the past didn't typically use outside trucking companies or freight brokers or freight agents, now there's a whole bunch of them that not are open to considering that, but need a good freight broker or freight agent to help them meet their needs. And if a company did rely primarily on, or even occasionally on, outside trucking companies, owner operators, or freight brokers to help them meet their shipping needs, now they need that even more, because every trucking company, every truck driver is in such demand. And for whatever reason, they just can't hire enough truck drivers. They're just not enough out there. And that's been the case for almost 2 years now. And trucking companies that want to add on trucks, guess what? There's a waiting list. Just like a whole bunch of other stuff, the supply chain disaster has affected the trucking business, because trucking companies that want to expand, they know they can pick up more business. They haven't been able to because they can't buy new trucks. Used trucks, the prices have gone through the roof on. And if you're trying to order something new from the manufacturer, the distributor, there's like a 6-month, 9-month, in some cases longer waiting list to be able to buy. You got cash, you want to buy 10 more trucks for your fleet, you might have to wait 6 months or longer to be able to get them. So the demand for freight brokers and freight agents is through the roof. Companies need, both shipping companies and trucking companies need what you do more than ever. So there has never been a better time to either get in the business or already be in the business. You just have to take advantage of that opportunity. I'm ready to start studying my material, but having problem navigating, accessing it. How do I get to it? Okay, you're ready to start. So you're obviously in the training program now. You're having trouble with navigating. Okay, well, very simply, you should have a link to be able to log in. Again, since I can't screen share, since we're on YouTube Live and I don't have any special software to do that with, just send me an email, success@freightbrokersacademy.com. I'm happy to schedule a little session with you, but it's pretty simple. If you get to that login place, and usually your username is your email address, and then you would have been given an initial password, which you could have changed. And once you do that, we're on Kajabi, our online training program platform. Then it's just modules, and it's got an outline, module 1, module 3. Each module has a series of written material, some audio recordings, some video training sessions, and then downloadable forms, like some of the things we talked about today. What to say when you're talking to a shipper, what to say when you're talking to a carrier, the forms to fill out with the information, examples of how to set up your business emails, your signature lines, all that kind of stuff. So again, if you're having any issues, you can attempt to log in. If you can't get in for some reason, then there's even a button to click, resend me or set up a new password. If that problem is you're not be able to get in. But once you get in, it should just show you, here's the outline. Click on module 1, module 2, module 3. And then in each module, it's just, here's a video, here's an audio, here's a PDF of a form that you can download. So again, but if you have problems with that, and will you repeat the phone number? Yes. Tia, the phone number again is 863-508-3084. And for anybody, if you go to our website, freightbrokersacademy.com, all of our contact information is on there as well. So you'll see the phone number, the email address. You can email success@freightbrokersacademy.com. That typically I get copied on those, or info@freightbrokersacademy.com, same thing. But again, 863-508-3084. Happy to answer any of your questions, or if you're a student, walk you through something if you're having an issue. Well, where can we find shippers' databases, and how do you find them according to the niche? Great question, Walt. with Google and with the internet the way it is, it's so much easier now than it was 10 years ago. But very simply, you can do this in much different ways. I'll tell you the simple way. If I'm starting out now and I'm looking for a database of whatever, I'm going to Google. And so shipper databases according to niche. Well, what niche do you want? So let's say you have a background in steel manufacturing and distribution, just to pick something. I go into Google and list of steel manufacturers, list of steel distributors, or steel distributors and manufacturers in Wisconsin, in New York, in Florida, in wherever, or directory of steel manufacturers, directory of farmers and growers, directory of distribution companies in Louisiana, if that's where you're based and you want to focus on Louisiana, or those kind of. So I'm going to look for directories. I'm going to look for membership lists. I'm going to look for categories. So remember, shippers are manufacturers, distributors, wholesalers, and growers. So I'm going to Google for directories of manufacturers for whatever your niche is, of heavy equipment, directory of distributors of heavy equipment, wholesalers of wholesalers of heavy equipment directories, and boom, and you're going to get hundreds, if not thousands, of listings. And they'll typically give you the name of the company, the address of the company, a main phone number, a website. Sometimes they'll list, contact. They'll even list shipping manager, logistics manager, that person's name. So depending, when you get to their website, you got all kinds of information. But again, I would just start Google. You don't need to buy any lists. There's so it's pretty simple these days. So Google, directories or listings of whatever, manufacturers of whatever niche you want, distributors of, wholesalers of, growers, or growers, citrus growers, vegetable growers, potato growers, or growers in Indiana, farmers in, food distribution companies in California, food distribution companies in Texas. So, and just, you almost can't run out of different little niches. So I guess decide what your niche is, or niches, if you want to start out with more than one, and then just Google directories of, listings of manufacturers, distributors, wholesalers, growers, and you should have more lists than you know what to do with. Okay, any other questions? Come on, I know you guys got some, pop them in here. Nothing's too simple, too complicated. And if I don't have the answer, I'll do my best to try and find the answer for you. So again, stick with the basics. The business is not complicated. You do the right things. And the right things are: keep the law of averages on your side. Make as many contacts as you possibly can each and every day with shippers, wholesalers, distributors, manufacturers, growers. Contact those people, that shippers, the person that handles coordinating shipping for the company, logistics manager, shipping manager. They're called different things, but it's the person that coordinates shipments back and forth. Develop relationships with as many trucking companies as you can. Trucking companies and individual owner-operators. How do you find them? Let's go. Simplest way I know is access a load board. Guess what? Someone's got an empty truck, they post it on the load board. No simpler, easier, or effective way to start developing relationships with possible trucking companies. Because what do they do when they have empty trucks? They post them on the load board. They're basically saying, please call me. Please help me. If you possibly have a load for me, I'm empty. Or they might be an owner of a small company, or the dispatcher who's responsible maybe for 10, 20 trucks. They post loads. I've got a truck in Atlanta, Georgia, empty, looking to go north towards New York, or get back home in Florida, or go to Texas, or I'll go anywhere. I've got a reefer unit trailer on the back of my truck. I'm in New Orleans, Louisiana. I'll go in any direction. I'll go north, I'll go west, I'll go east. Call me if you have a potential load. So all day long, you could easily find trucks that need your help by just looking at the load boards and calling. Hey, I saw you had a truck posted on the load board. Are you still looking for a load? And it's either yes or no. And by the way, if it's no, with a few questions you ask for future reference. Well, sorry, I'm glad to hear you got a load. Let me ask you a question. Are you typically in this area looking for loads on a regular basis? Great. And if so, where do you typically, what are the lengths, what are the areas you're typically looking to go? What's your preferred rate? What kind of rates you're looking for? What type of loads you're looking for? You ask a few questions for future reference. And then they may be a possibility from the future. So we got a script for that too. Contacting trucking companies, and whether they say yes or no, we tell you what to do. We show you what to do. So, again, you don't have to be thinking on your feet all the time. It's like boom, boom, boom. Just follow the script. Do you provide training with load boards? Yeah, we do. Now, we don't recommend any specific one because there's dozens out there, but we will go over how load boards work, like I just explained. And how to utilize them, how to do searches on a load board, how to find trucks in a certain area. So maybe you've got a load with a shipper and they say, okay, I need some trucks. I need a truck. I need 3 trucks, whatever. They're based in Atlanta. They need refrigerated units. It's a certain type of load. And they're going from Atlanta to Chicago, Illinois, whatever the case is. How to go to a load board. Doesn't matter which load board, any load board really, and how to create a query, a search to find trucks that are in or near the area where you need a truck, and the type of trailer, and when and where, so that you get a list of the best potential prospects to fill the need of your shipper. So we teach that. How to do that, how to utilize a load board, and as a broker, whether you're a broker or a agent, how to do that. And again, if you're a new agent, you're pretty much going to be using the load board or boards that your broker is utilizing. If you're a broker, you have your choice on which load boards you want to use, and there are many that are good. It's pretty much a matter of preference. And they all have different bells and whistles. So there's the basic, and then there's all kinds of things you use load board for. For example, RateMate. That's a branded name. There are different services that do that. But it's like, if you wanted to find out, you're competitive, you're having to do a quote for a shipper, or you're negotiating with carriers. Some of the add-on services to a lot of these load board services are where they will give you over the last 30 days or the last 90 days, comparison between last year and this year, what the typical rate per mile for drive-in, reefer units, flatbeds going from Atlanta to wherever. Nashville, Atlanta to Miami, Atlanta to Chicago. And so there's all kinds of different little services that are add-ons to a load board. And we'll make you aware of what those are and when they could be beneficial to you, and in what circumstances you might want to utilize those. What if you're dealing with a shipper manufacturer and they insist on not signing your contracts as an agent broker? How does one handle that situation? That's a good question, Tia. And that's not uncommon. I did business with a lot of shippers, manufacturers that we didn't have a set contract, quite frankly. So that's not uncommon in the industry. And especially if they're larger, they're oftentimes not going to sign your contract. You're end up going to sign their contract if there's a contract at all. So, and I know, so we have templates for broker ship agreements. And if you're an agent working for a broker, they may have a broker shipper agreement that they may want you to attempt a shipper to sign. If they just don't do business that way, that's okay, because there's a kind of shipment by shipment, load by load agreement, and that's the confirmation that's going to get generated every time that is going to get signed off on. So if there's not this all-encompassing broker shipper agreement that either comes from the shipper that you and they are going to sign, or that you send that you and they are going to sign, then each individual load kind of has its own written agreement that spells out all the terms. We're going to provide a truck, this type of trailer. We're going to pick up this kind of load. We're going to pick it up at point A. We're going to deliver it to point B. Here's what the shipper agrees to pay. You're going to have a similar thing with the trucking company then. So that load confirmation form that typically is generated with each load ends up being kind of like your contract for each individual load. And that's not uncommon. Now, you never want to have agree to pick up, deliver loads without having that agreement on a load by load basis, even if you don't have that all encompassing broker shipper agreement. So, that's just the way it is sometimes. That's just the way it is. And it's not uncommon. We dealt with a lot of companies from time to time that, they just didn't have that formal agreement. I did a lot of the growers I dealt with. I did a lot of business in Florida picking up watermelons. It was really good paying loads, taking watermelons from South Central Florida on up through the Southeast and on into the Northeast and even the Midwest in some cases. And that was really, really good paying. And it was just, hey, load by load basis, here it is. We get the written confirmation via email and load confirmation back and forth. Yes, you're going to pre-qualify. You're going to make sure that the company you're dealing with is rated properly, for credit purposes, if you're not, for billing purposes, but wouldn't necessarily have a in stone formal all-encompassing agreement, just that load by load agreement. So get them credit qualified. Make sure they're good payers. If you can't get that agreement, and then make sure you have that individual load agreement on a load by load basis. Hopefully that helped. Okay, I'm a new broker. I can't seem to find customers that a good freight spend. They all want cheap. That's a good question. Nobody wants to pay more than they have to. But most people at this point, it's on the news every day, inflation. So, prices are going up everywhere. Anyone that was paying something, there's a lot of people that aren't happy. They've been used to paying a certain rate for the last 5-10 years, whatever it is. And rates are going up dramatically. I was just listening yesterday. The cost of coffee is up 112% in 1 year. 112%. The cost of coffee is doubled in a year. And there's a whole slew of things that are up, 15, 20, 25, 40%, 50%. So inflation has affected things. There's also the law of supply and demand. The less supply of anything there is, and when there's a lot of demand, the price goes up. We talked about at the beginning of training today how truck drivers are in short supply. Trucks are in short supply. And so when truck drivers and trucks are in short supply and demand is still there, the price is going to go up. Anyone that doesn't understand that or doesn't want to deal with that, or in most cases just they have an excuse. No, I'm not going to pay that. You don't need to deal with them. And it really is this bottom line. And I'm going to go back to what I talked about, law of averages. See, if you're getting that constantly, you're not working with enough numbers. You're not making enough contacts. And I don't, I hope you don't take this personally, but how do you solve that problem? You got to have a bigger database. You got to be talking to more shippers. You got to get a bigger supply of trucking companies. And then you just don't deal with those people because that's an unrealistic view. I'm not going to pay above this amount because that's what I've been paying. Okay, I can appreciate that. Well, again, I've several thousand trucks at my disposal all over the country. This is how you want to be able to respond. I've got several thousand trucks at my disposal all over the country. And if you have a situation where you can't find a truck that you need, give me a call, send me an email, and I'll see what I can do. Sorry, I can't help you right now. But most of my trucks, it's a matter of supply and demand. And right now, demand is so high, no one's going to take a load for X amount per mile when everybody else is paying way more. And they know they can get a lot more than whatever you want to pay. So I wish things were different, but best of luck to you. And again, you got my number, you got my email address. Happy to help if you just don't have any other options. Move on to the next person. Now, you can only do that if you really have thousands of trucks at your disposal, and that doesn't take a lot. The average, trucking company may have 10 or more trucks. Some may be just an owner-operator, one. Some trucking companies have 2 or 3 trucks. Some have 10, some have 25, 100 plus. You should be able to acquire 50 to 100 trucks at your disposal on a daily basis. If you're just looking on the load boards, calling empty trucks and asking a simple question like, "Oh, you had a empty truck posted on the load board, based in wherever, Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Is it still empty? Looking for a load?" If yes, you get information. If no, okay, great. I'm glad you found a load for. Do you have any other trucks looking for a load right now? Oh, you do? A couple? Well, where are you based? What kind of loads you looking for? Boom, you go back and forth. Even if you can't get them a load that day, you've got more in your database. Hey, by the way, here's the key. Okay, here's a great question you should always be asking when you're talking to an owner-operator or the owner of a small trucking company or a dispatch manager. And that is, and this is especially if you can't help them for whatever reason. They already found a load, or you just don't have any loads going where they want to go, or even at the price that they want to haul something. You close the conversation by, "Hey, well, glad you got a load today," or "Sorry, I couldn't help you with a load today, but the next time I get a good paying load near an area where you're based or on one of the lanes you like to run, would you like me to give you a call or send you an email, let you know about it?" Now, how many people are going to say no to that, right? "Sorry, I couldn't help you today for whatever reason, but the next time I get a good paying load," and that's what all truckers are looking for, and that's what all trucking companies are looking for, good paying loads near where you are based or on one of the routes you like to travel, would you like me to give you a call or send you an email? And this is why it should be so easy to build up a database of thousands of trucks at your disposal, because all you need is people that want you to give them a call next time you get a good paying load that's near where they're based or on one of the routes that they travel. Absolutely give me a call or send me an email. Who would say no to that? If they say no, they're idiots or they're crazy or whatever, and you don't deal with them. But 9 out of 10 at least are going to say, "Well, sure, next time you get a good paying load, give me a call or send me an email." And you build up enough of that database, you may find someone. Because another question I'll ask, here's a great question. Well, what's your preferred, what do you typically like in terms of rate per mile when you're coming out of Atlanta or coming out of Chicago or whatever? What are you typically looking for as a minimum rate per mile to do this kind of load? It's good to know what they like. And some of them will hit higher than actually what they do matter. And they'll usually ask a follow-up question, something like this, that says, "Well, let me ask you this. What if you're got a truck sitting, it's empty, and you're about to go into another day without bringing in any revenue? What's the absolute minimum that you might be willing to take at a rate per mile when you have a truck sitting empty and you just can't find a load for it?" And that rate typically is going to be lower than they first quoted you. And if you're asking that question of all of your owner-operators and trucking companies, you may end up finding and having a list of trucks that will run for, quote, cheap or cheaper or lower in certain circumstances. And if you've got these in your database, you can sort minimum rate per mile and you got a few thousand trucks or a few hundred trucking companies, and and someone, some shipper says, look, I can only pay $2.05 a mile. That's the app maximum. You sort your database, you query your logistics software, and you see that you've got some trucking companies that if they really needed to, and the truck's just been sitting, they can't find a load, they'd be willing to run for $1.80 a mile or whatever the case is. At this point, it might be, $2.50, $2.70, $2.75 a mile minimum. Whatever it is, you punch it in there. You say, look, I know this is not typically what you'd be willing, what you're looking for, but I got a shipper that can only pay a certain amount. You got any trucks that have been sitting for a while in this area? This is the max they're willing to pay. You got a truck that just needs to get moving to get to a better area. And that's where you maybe sometimes can take care of those opportunities with shippers that don't want to pay more than a certain amount. And of course, truckers now know they're in big demand, low supply, so they're used to getting a higher pay. But still, sometimes if they got a fleet of 10 trucks, there may be one sitting somewhere. Like, you don't want to be sitting in Miami or South Florida. There's only one way to go, north. Can't go west, can't go east, can't go south. You're the Gulf of Mexico or the Atlantic Ocean. So typically rates coming out of South Florida aren't the greatest. You just want to get your truck out of South Florida so you can get a better rate. So there are places like that, and there's times like that where, trucking companies and owner-operators are willing to haul a load for less than typical just to get to another location. So I hope that helped you with that question. And I think time here, my hour is up. I'm going to try one more question. I think I had some. Okay to charge drivers who ask for dollar advances. Is it okay to charge? I'm not sure exactly on that, but yeah, there are typically, it's common actually for freight brokers to offer advances. But if you're going to advance, it's also typical that there is a small fee or deduction when you do that. So let's say you're going to give them, fuel advances, or a certain amount that you'll advance them when you get confirmation that the load has actually been picked up. But there is almost always some kind of small fee for that. So the answer is yeah, it is okay. That's all negotiated up front in your broker carrier agreement. And then there's typically the pay that you also agree to up front, or how they're going to get paid. And there are options. And one of those options is, advances. There's also fees for if they want to get paid quicker. They can get 24 or 48 pay or net 30. They want to get 100% of the pay, they may wait to get a check. If they want to get paid right away, they may be willing to discount 1% or 1.5% or something. So same thing with other types of advances. Okay? And that's usually always spelled out in that broker carrier agreement and the compensation, the pay rate agreement that is also signed off on before that truck or trucking company ever hauls the first load for you. Good question. Thank you. How much for training program? Hey, Freight Brokers Academy for the freight agent and basic freight brokers, $298, or two payments of $149. It's not expensive at all. We're doing the COVID special. We've been doing the COVID special for about a year now. It used to be $495. So we cut it in half to help as many people that wanted to get into the program as possible. So just go to freightbrokersacademy.com. It spells it all out for you. And we've got a new freight broker business success program that our first group graduate here just a little over a month ago. We've got another training program coming up. That one is $498. And that not only the basics of how to be successful as a freight broker, freight agent on the phone, but also how to build your business, how to recruit, train, and manage freight agents, how to maximize the opportunity of a freight broker's license, how to apply for the license, how to get the insurance that's required, all those, the bond, surety bond, and all those type of things. So we got two basic programs, one for freight agents or just going to work by yourself as a freight broker. And then second one, if you want to actually build a freight broker business and have a bunch of agents working underneath you. So you can get information on both of those at freightbrokersacademy.com. And with that, I think we've run out of time, but I really appreciate everybody joining us today. I hope this time was valuable for you. If you like the training, please do a comment or go to our Facebook fan page and make a comment. We appreciate positive feedback. And I hope you'll attend us. We do this once a month, every month. Obviously, you guys are on our list now, so be on the lookout for the next live training session. And there's my little notification that my time's up. So again, everybody have a fantastic week, and I wish you much success in the freight brokerage business.